Is somebody sending you a suicide code, or are you even sending a suicide code? Hey, it's Gary Coxe, business and life strategist. Today's a little bit more of a somber video, but it's something that's very, very, very important. And this may be something you also may need to even share with somebody. And I wanted to bring to your attention a person that was brought to my attention that recently committed suicide. And most people may have heard or know somebody that committed suicide. And when I hear of somebody, when somebody says to me, hey, did you hear about so-and-so and they committed suicide? One of the first questions I ask is, what is or was your pain? What was their pain? The reason somebody commits suicide is that the pain of living is more painful than death. That's how they can justify it. So I want to talk about why this happens if you are suicidal, if you know somebody is suicidal, how do you deal with it, and how am I somebody that I feel that I can share this with you. Many of you know, if you've watched me before or subscribed, you know that I am a cult survivor. I have contemplated that. I know of there's individuals that leave this cult that commit suicide. And it is a very scary thing. So I want to share with you some of the things that I have learned going through massive pain from my father being murdered, my wife telling me my baby's not mine, my uncle killed in a plane crash. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Okay, so what is your pain? So let me share with you this story about Mikayla and how this came about. I'm involved in helping an animal sanctuary. And the lady there, Deb, she said, hey, did you hear about this lady that committed suicide? Her name was Mikayla Raines. And I had not heard about it. And so after she told me about it, I started looking it up. And you'll see she's a very beautiful woman, and gave her heart and soul to these foxes. She put together this charity, Save a Fox. And I mean, she really, really spent a lot of time and money and effort. She devoted her life to this. But she just recently committed suicide. So let's talk about it. Suicide code. She put out a video that put all the code together. Unfortunately, it is very difficult, and most people don't understand the code, if you will, or how to deal with it or what to even do with it. In one of her videos, she said something like, I just can't do this anymore. That's a code. I can't do this anymore. So if you can't do this, what are you going to do? I'm going to leave the planet. I can't do this anymore. The foxes will be taken care of. This is all code, all right? Now, here's the problem when somebody speaks a code like this to us. If we are not careful, you, me, or society will punish them. I mean, stop and think about it. If one of your friends that came to you that you don't have a lot of deep conversations with, they seem normal on the outside, and they come to you and they say something like, and most people won't say it this boldly, but let's say there's something like, you know, man, I've been having thoughts of not suicide, but committing suicide. Oh, that's crazy. What do you can't, it can't be that bad. And we start saying stuff where we start to solve their problem. In other words, we'll say, well, look at it this way, but you've got your family, and you've got this, and you've got that, and you've got this. What happens is now we become not a soundboard, but a bouncing board. That person needs a soundboard. They need to have you listen and suck it all in. They don't need a fix right now. They need to listen. They have a problem. Then we go to the understanding and empathy and sympathizing. Then we go to solving the problem. So let's look at her example. And you cannot judge or criticize her husband, who left just a tear-jerking message about her after she died, because most people don't know how to deal with this. This is deep stuff. I mean, you're talking about somebody thinking about committing suicide. That's huge, right? So what would we do in her case? Number one, knowing what little I know, she needs to immediately get out of her situation. Now, that's very difficult. So what do you mean immediately get out of her situation? Well, you're going to need to back off, take a vacation. You're going to need to somehow massively reduce your stress. You're going to have to adjust your thinking. The first thing a person says, well, I can't do that. Well, you did it. You committed suicide and did it. So you can do it. It's like when somebody says, I'm not feeling healthy. and you say to some person, hey, you really need to change your lifestyle, you're going to have to start exercising or whatever, maybe they're overweight, and they say, well, I just don't have the time, I've got this to do, I got that to do. But they found the time to go to the hospital after they had the heart attack, didn't they? Right? So not easy to make that adjustment in your lifestyle. In fact, with my divorce, I said to my wife at that time, I said, look, we've got to change our lifestyle. This is not going to work. We're going to end up in divorce. And what happens? Lifestyle wouldn't change. She refused to, ended up in divorce. So something is going to happen one way or the other. So listen to the code. When somebody gives you a suicide code or what you think might be code, you need to pull them aside and say, we need to have a deep talk. Have you ever actually thought about this, about killing yourself? What's been going on? And this is not to say you're the therapist, because this is a lot of weight here. First thing we want to do is get them help, but you have to monitor them. You can't just let them go and say, hey, go get some help. You may have to have them come into your house and spend the night with you. You may have to go spend the night with them, or get on the phone with them right away, or share this with a couple of their inner circle friends, and they will not want to do that and say, look, you have two choices. You can do this or commit suicide. I remember when I was in this cult, I said to myself, I was so suicidal, I have two choices. I can leave, and in my mind, this is the wrong thing to do because this is God's whatever BS nonsense we buy into. Or I can take the risk of having this terrible sin of leaving this cult, and the risk of leaving would be I would be alive. It was one or the other for me. And that was one of the reasons I left the cult. Now, the next thing is, what if you have some of these thoughts? Here's the challenge that you have when you have some of these thoughts. You are afraid, number one, of being punished by sharing it with somebody. So you have to learn now, hopefully, let's say you're not suicidal and you're fine, you need to have friends that you'll be able to share thoughts with this. Like, I have some of those friends. Those friends are phenomenal soundboards. I can share thoughts with them, and they don't try to fix me. They want to understand. They want to sympathize. So that's important. The other thing is, when you have these thoughts, or somebody has these thoughts, remember, why are they thinking about suicide? The pain is so great. So we have to get them to start focusing on something else, or enable them or help them to alleviate or minimize some of the pain. When that pain is so great that it's easier for them to commit suicide than stay alive, they got a problem. But when that pain can be changed, where life becomes greater than the pain of suicide and staying alive, then they win the game. So even for you, if you have some of these major problems or thoughts, what can you do to change your pain? And remember, there is always something. There is always something. And you've got to figure out what it is. And that's why I think it's so important for you to have a hedge around your mental health. I have a hedge, a fortress, if you will, around my happiness and my mental health. There's specific things I do all of the time to maintain my mental health. Number one, I hardly touch any alcohol. Number two, I exercise. Number three, I watch who I bring into my world. I don't bring unnecessary, ridiculous drama. All these things are intentionally done. Another thing that I want to talk about is, what do you actually say to somebody? Let's go a little further on this. Number one, do not punish them. Be very, very careful of that. If you punish somebody, I remember one day with my stepfather, there was something that he asked me a question about, something about the friggin' cult, and I didn't know the answer, and he said, you should know this answer. I mean, he went all over me. He punished me, and he asked me a question, and he verbally punished me. From that day on, I will never forget it. My attitude with him changed forever, because now my attitude is, don't ask me a question if I'm going to give you an answer and you're going to punish me because you don't like the answer I gave you. I will never talk to you about these things again, and I never did. Life changed dramatically after that point. So you have to be very, very careful about not punishing people. If you have kids and your kids come to you and they say to you, you know, I made a big mistake, I smoked pot yesterday for the first time, or I got drunk. You did what? You know better than that. Boom, you just punished that child that employee, that spouse, that lover, that friend, and don't expect them to come back to you again when they have something just as deep or deeper. And then, because they've been punished, the pain becomes so great because they can't speak the unspoken, and then you know what happens next. So these are just, I mean, I could go on and on and on about ways to help. Just somebody needs to get help when these thoughts happen. Robin Williams, the comedian, he seemed fine to everybody, but people have deep thoughts. And when you have deep thoughts, make sure when they're scary like this that you have people that you can share this with. And if you don't find them, because isolation is one of the worst things that will feed somebody to increase their pain more and more. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to share that. I understand this. I remember being with a guy one day, this was years ago, and somebody had committed suicide, and we talked about it. He says, I could never see how I could do that. Well, I could see how it can be done, and God bless him for him not being able to fathom how he could even do that. And I think as things get crazier, and one of the things, let me touch on this, one of the things, be careful what you ask for, that fed her to suicide was the bullying that she got. On just Instagram alone, I think on Instagram she's got 2 million followers, on TikTok 3 million followers, and people started hating on her like crazy, people within her own community. And here's what happens. Be careful what you ask for. A lot of people want fame and fortune, but you are going to get attacked. She was so attacked by, oh, you're just doing this to make money and be rich. And she raised millions of dollars for her love of foxes. And she got so much criticism that she had to make so many videos to get so many donations to be able to manage and take care of it. I think she has to spend $70 to $90 or $100,000 a month just to keep them alive, and the people and the food and all the things that she needs to do. So every time she makes posts and raises money, she also gets haters that hate her, and it got to the point she just couldn't take it anymore. So be very careful about what you say to people online, because after a while, one bullier, two bullier, 100 bulliers, 200 bulliers, it can take their toll. And I've been on many TV programs, and every time you advertise, if you do any social media advertising, you're going to get some crazy haters, and unfortunately that's par for the course, but we have to learn to deal with that. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed today's video. Love to have you subscribe, hang around some more. If you have some stories you'd like to share, I'd like to read them. I'm happy to respond to as many of them. By the way, your comments are not one for therapy. You cannot comment and say, hey Gary, I'm committing suicide, can you help me? It's not going to happen there. Go see somebody, go get some help. And even if you're not that way and you're mentally strong and everything is great, have a group of friends that you know when the crap hits the fan, you don't know what can happen. I mean, I remember one day meeting one girl, her house caught on fire, she lost her entire family. She was a mess, right? So you don't know what can happen tomorrow because we're not promised tomorrow. So make sure to manage your mental health. You have a few good friends that you can talk to that won't punish you in your deepest, darkest times, and they will help you, walk you through your pain, and show you the love and empathy that you need. I'm out of here between now and the next time we get to chat. You know what to do, and if you don't, it's the title of one of my books. Try your darndest not to let others run space in your head. Have an awesome day.